Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order, and we begin with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We'll now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of our national anthem. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Okay, if we can get an adoption of our agenda for July 28th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Richo-Spagnola, support by Councillor Burns. All in favor? That carries. Any disclosures of penal interest? There being none, if you do have any during the meeting, just please let us know at that time. Adoption of minutes. We have the minutes of the closed and regular meetings of council held July 14th, 2026. Any questions or comments? If not, be adopted. Councillor Carrick and Councillor Segan, all in favor? That carries. Mayor's comments. So I do have a few today. The past couple of weeks have been pretty exciting for the town of LaSalle and our region, with several significant milestones that demonstrate the incredible momentum we're seeing right here across Windsor-Essex. Deputy Mayor Akpat and I were honored to represent the town of LaSalle at the official ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. It was a privilege to be there on behalf of our residents, council, and the many current and former town staff who worked diligently over the years to help bring this transformational project to life. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is more than just a new crossing. It represents stronger trade, economic opportunity, and continued growth for our region, and it is something our community can be proud of. And like many others of our region, I did take the trek across the new bridge yesterday. It was a very memorable moment for our family. We got a little souvenir on the way back, which I thought was pretty cool. And we had to take advantage of Canadian money at Part Mexican Town on Mondays, so it was a good trip all in all. I was also honored to attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Fancy Family Hospital, which is the regional acute care hospital. This project represents one of the largest healthcare investments in Windsor-Essex, and it's an important step forward towards ensuring residents have access to modern, world-class healthcare for generations to come. Last week, LaSalle was also pleased to welcome Premier Doug Ford to our community. During his visit, we had the opportunity to showcase one of our outstanding local manufacturers, ProPower Manufacturing, and highlight the innovation, investment, and economic growth taking place right here in LaSalle. We appreciate the Premier taking the time to visit our community and see firsthand the incredible work being done by our local businesses. These milestones are a reminder that this is an exciting time for LaSalle and for our entire region. And together we're seeing investments in transportation, healthcare, manufacturing, and community growth that will benefit residents for generations to come. On a lighter note, I recently had the opportunity to participate in the Kingsville Rodeo Mayor's Challenge. My understanding there were also a lot of local residents competing throughout the entire weekend, which was a lot of fun to go see. It's a signature event. This friendly competition was for local mayors, and we do it a few times throughout the year, and it's a great way to build relationships outside the boardroom. And I'm happy to report that for the very first time, my name will be officially on a municipal trophy. Don't be too impressed. It was a dummy steer, but a trophy's a trophy, so I will take it. And finally, as we head into Civic Holiday Weekend, I'd like to remind residents that the LaSalle Civic Center and the Vollmer Complex will be closed on Monday, August 3rd, and will reopen with regular hours on Tuesday. And if you're looking for something fun to do over the long weekend, there are plenty of free, family-friendly activities to enjoy right here in LaSalle. Residents can take advantage of free recreational swimming at the outdoor pool from 2 to 4 every day, cool off in the Rotary Circle water jets at LaSalle Landing, visit the splash pad at the Vollmer Complex, explore our beautiful trail network, or enjoy pickleball, tennis, or basketball at one of our outdoor courts. And then finally, I'd just like to remind residents that residential water and wastewater bills are due this Friday, July 31st. If you haven't already done so, please ensure your payment is submitted by the due date. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable, relaxing Civic Holiday weekend. With that, we can move into the next portion. We don't have any public meetings in or hearings, but we do have a presentation, and that is from our EMS Chief, Justin Lammers, and District Chief, Trevor Lee, regarding the new EMS dispatch software. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Through you, Mayor Meloche, and the members of LaSalle Council. Thank you for having us tonight. We're going to provide you with a brief summary of the new medical priority dispatch system. We can just go back a couple slides there. Go back to the title slide. It's right, all the way back. Hard left, all the way back. Yeah, there we go. So it's a brief summary of the new medical priority dispatch system that's coming to our region in September 16th of this year. This software is important. It's going to make some significant changes to how we dispatch ambulances. In attendance with me tonight is District Chief Trevor Lee. He's the project lead on this important technology upgrade, and he's quickly becoming our systems expert. So he's here to support me and you with any questions that you may have. It's important to note as we work through this delegation that the Central Ambulance Communication Center is owned and operated by the Ministry of Health. We're strong partners in providing pre-hospital emergency medical care across our region, including development of a deployment plan that meets our unique regional and operational requirements and aligns with provincial legislation and standards. Next slide, agenda. We're going to do a quick overview of how the system currently works and why we require modernization. We're going to review response priorities and medical priority dispatch software benefits and trade-offs, and we'll finish with a project timeline. Next slide. So current components of a paramedic response. So when you call 911, in our region, for the most part, it goes to a primary public safety answering point that is operated by the Ontario Provincial Police, I believe up in North Bay. In the town of Amherstburg and the city of Windsor, Windsor Police is the primary PSAP, but everywhere else it goes up. Police, fire, ambulance when you call, and from there you say ambulance, it sends it back to the Windsor Central Ambulance Communication Center, which is off of Rhodes Drive in the city of Windsor. The call is answered by Windsor CAC, an ambulance communications officer. They prioritize the urgency level of the call, and they assign the closest or most appropriate paramedics to respond to the call. We arrive, we assess the patient, treatment may or may not be performed, and we may or may not transport to the hospital. Arrival at the hospital, we have a transfer of care, and when the crew is ready to go back into service, the ambulance communications officer assigns paramedics to either a station or somewhere in our area to maintain coverage, or they respond to the next available call. Some of the challenges with the current system, next slide. Some of the challenges with the current DPCI2 system is we have a large over-prioritization of 911 calls, and that's very risk adverse. Erring on a side of caution, we're sending the majority of our calls out code 4. 70% of our calls in 2025 went out lights and sirens. So there's two types of calls that we respond to in the community. Code 3, no lights, no sirens, low acuity. Code 4, lights and sirens, non-delayable, have to go. So out of the 70 responses, or 70% of the responses were sent out code 4 in 2025, only 17% returned code 4. So you can see that out of an abundance of caution in the current system, we're responding lights and sirens, but the majority of the time we're responding back code 3. We didn't need to go as lights and sirens. So over prioritization, which in a state of limited resources, that creates a lack of operational efficiencies. The current software has a limited ability to distinguish low acuity from high acuity patients. There's a standardized set of questions that are approved through the province and through medical control. There's no real ability to think outside of the box. That's the way the system's designed, so that every person gets the same level of care based on the questions that are answered. Obviously, it creates challenges maintaining response times. If you're sending your units out quick on every single call, when you're getting there and it's not necessarily an emergency, you don't have units available to respond to the emergencies that are in the community. This creates operational strain on the frontline staff. It puts us into positions where we're not able to guarantee breaks or lunches, as well at end of shift. If you're, say, in LaSalle and you get a code 4 20 minutes before the end of your shift and you transport that patient, say we're on bypass out to Erie Shores, you can see that overtime racks up very, very quick. So it makes it hard on the staff. Essentially, there's a lack of diagnostic tools in the dispatch process. And again, as I mentioned before, almost all 911 calls are assigned one of 2 priorities. Next slide, please. So on the left, you'll see the current, as I said, code 3 and code 4 under DPCI. On the right is MPDS. So we go from code 3, code 4 to 5 call types, the top being purple. So purple and red are your 2 most serious call types. Those are the lateral to code 4 right now. Non-delayable, lights and sirens have to go, cannot be delayed. Orange, urgent and potentially serious, immediate threat to life, unlikely. The nice part about orange is we can leverage our own data to decide what calls we want to respond lights and sirens to. So through the support of the Windsor Essex Ontario Health Team, they provided us with funding for what's called Information Decision Report, IDS, and that allows us to see of the patients that we're bringing to the hospital, what is their length of stay, what are they leaving with. So if we're responding to something lights and sirens as a red, and we find out that 97% of those patients are discharged within 6 hours, then we don't need to go as a red, right? We can adjust that. So our own unique demographics and medical concerns we have in Windsor Essex, we're able to get a little bit nimble with that. Yellow and green, not urgent, not serious. So as an example, your purple calls, your cardiac arrest, complete airway obstruction, a baby's born with major complications to baby and or mother, things that, are high priority. Your red is still a significant call priority, difficulty breathing, severe cardiac chest pain, discomfort, extreme fall from greater than 10 meters, somebody who's unconscious. We get into orange. This is the one that we have discretion about whether or not we're running lights and sirens. Abdominal pain, near fainting, diagnosed seizure disorder. Yellow is motor vehicle collision with low impact minor injuries, a minor fall down the stairs, and green would be like an allergic reaction with only rash or hives. Next slide. So some of the benefits and trade-offs, fewer lights and sirens responses, and that's not only good for resource efficiency, but it's also good because there's a risk when you're driving lights and sirens and you're going through intersections and people are pulling over to the right and all that. So not only a risk for the paramedics, but a risk for the public as well. So by decreasing the amount of times that we're running lights and sirens and going through intersections, that's also increasing public safety. There's more accurate call prioritization, medical oversight, so it's evidence-based. And it helps to maintain response times for critical calls. So, for example, our colleagues in Simcoe County Paramedic Service, they're just over a year of running this software. They've seen a 37% reduction in lights and sirens responses in their first year. So, a significant drop in overtime, a significant drop in missed late lunches, as well as improved, triaging of the calls and knowing what we're going for. It improves workload balance and it improves deployment plan capabilities. So MPDS is a precursor to having clinicians in a communication center. And again, we don't own the communication center. We have advocated for clinicians, but you can't do it without MPDS. So this is a meaningful step in the right direction to provide innovation in our region. Some of the trade-offs here, lower acuity patients may wait longer. So because you're able to categorize a lot more patients in the lower acuity subset, those patients could wait while we maintain balanced resources across our region, waiting for calls that are time sensitive. The call is prioritized based on the patient's complaint, not who's calling. So we're working closely with our friends in police and our friends in fire, to see what the impacts will be there. The nice thing about this is there's a robust quality assurance process built into this, where any adverse events, say we went out low acuity and it wound up being a high acuity patient, or vice versa, or as well there's complaints or concerns raised from allied agencies, we're able to submit those into the ministry and work with them. We are one of the last in the province to go to MPDS. There's a few after us, but we are at the bottom end of it. But the nice thing about that is that a lot of services have ironed out the kinks. So when we're getting into issues that we may have, it's going to be very region specific for us. Next slide, please. So project timeline, we're right on track. We're at the LOP transition. We've updated our contingency plans, and we're on track for September 16th go live. All the feedback we've received from the Ministry of Health so far is that everything's dialed in and it's looking good. So we don't anticipate any issues. I will note that Chatham-Kent region is overseen by Wallaceburg CAC, so they have their own dispatch center. They're going to be going live in November 2026. So while not necessarily LaSalle abutting another municipality outside of our region, at times in limited resources, we do see Chatham-Kent units in our region. It allows us to all be on the same page, allows us to prioritize our units all the same. So that's good for the Southwest region. Next slide. One thing that you will notice is there's going to be some code status name changes. So our old terminology, when we have 11 or more units in our region, we say that's code green. That will now be code normal. When we have between 4 and 10 available ambulances in our entire region, that's code yellow. That will now be known as code surge. Code red is between 1 and 3 units. That will now be known as code critical. And code black, having no units in the region, is now known as code 0. Last slide. In closing, improve patient prioritization, enhance system efficiency. We know that because the evidence shows us that from the individuals and the services who've gone through this before. We're supporting our frontline staff and we're maintaining safety for critical emergencies. With that, we're happy to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carrick.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So I had the privilege of seeing this presentation back at County Council. So my question is similar to the one I asked then. So understanding that our calls go to the OPP, then they get screened and come back to our area, Windsor. So I guess the question I have is the trade-off versus immediate, like say there's an accident, danger, or house fire, I need somebody right away, as opposed to the screening process in the midst. Does that outweigh or does it level off the response time that we get to our spot when you actually screen and go through to figure out which code it is? Does that make sense?
Through you, Mayor Meloche. That the primary public safety answering point exists regardless of the software that Windsor Central Ambulance Communication Center is using. So that's always there. From that point, it's kicked over to the Central Ambulance Communication Center and the screening process begins. This software, in order to get more efficient, you have to ask more questions. So that you have to hone in a little bit better, which is going to take a little bit more time. So the callers will notice that there's a lot more questions being asked. As well, our service partners like police and fire, they will be asked a few more questions. So that could increase the length of time that it takes to get things going. However, when keywords are said, they will send the unit and figure out the rest later. So we'll get the unit on the way, and they'll continue asking questions as we hone in.
Thank you, because when you're calling and you're in panic mode, like you don't want to be answering 20 questions. That's just my point. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Meloche. Through you, Chief. Just a couple of quick questions. When we start to talk about software integration, especially when we're talking about dispatch software, I'm looking through my head at some of the different streets that we have that are named the same. So I'm going to assume that you've sandboxed this already to make sure that King Street in Essex is not King Street in Harrow and things like that. I just want to make sure that the similarity of names, went through this before when we brought in Versadex at my old job, and some of the streets did not align and the software only works on what it's programmed. So I'm just wondering what precursors you've worked on to make sure that we send our trucks where they need to go to the right municipality within the confine of the County of Essex.
Through you, Mayor. So again, the Ministry of Health is responsible for that. This is their software. It's their mapping. They do the call locating and dispatch to us. But, in terms of making sure the street names are matching, that would not have been part of the scope of this project. That is an ongoing process through the Ministry of Health that's already existing.
And a supplemental, you said eventually practitioners in dispatch center. I'm curious about that, Chief, and I realize that that's downrange, and I understand the value in it. Can you just make sure that everyone can understand why that would be something important for us to consider, and how this new software sets the stage for that, if that's where we're going to go, sir?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So when we look at other parts of the world, including in Ontario, Toronto, Niagara, services that have that own their own dispatch center, maybe put clinicians in, there's a subset of calls that you can divert to maybe community paramedicine unit, or you can divert to another system, healthcare system within our region. Usually 15 to 20% of the calls is what you're looking at, very, very low acuity, but you're able to get that off the front line. Right now, when somebody calls 911, a unit is being sent regardless. The most upstream we can get is in the call center. We can't get any further up than that. So we're doing everything we can with innovation right now and making sure we're sending the right resources. But in order to get up another level, we have to have the clinicians in there to screen them. Part of MPDS is there is an accreditation that can happen when you go through a defined period of time and your numbers are lining up and your response times are lining up for the communication center. You can open up what's called a code omega, and those calls are very specific to very low acuity, and you can start dialing in on clinicians, whether that's an advanced care paramedic, a nurse, whoever in the communication center, that is filtering these calls off the top, thereby preserving your resources on the front line.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Worship. Some of my questions were answered through your offering of the extra questions that would be asked to help drive the software. On the other side of it, as people unknowingly receive different priorities, is there any kind of extra training for the dispatch staff to let them know that although their issue is pressing, they might not have the first ambulance out, or they might have to be patient? Like, is there any kind of language in there to make people understand? Because I'm in customer service where I work in my other work, and sometimes people are very anxious, and I would imagine twice as anxious, 10 times more in your business. I'm just wondering if there's been anything put in place that might help those anxieties.
Through you, Mayor, I'll take that one there. We are working on public communications that are going to try to keep information out to everybody on how this new system is going to roll out, what the changes are looking like, kind of like what we're doing here. We are going to target the public on that as well. The ambulance communications officers will follow that proper flow chart of questions. If they're not sending an ambulance and that call is something that will be waiting, then they have, depending on the color code that call falls under, if it's a green, an orange, or a yellow, whatever it is, there's a certain amount of time that they have to make callbacks to them. No different than today, except there's just a different amount of time when they make those callbacks, and they'll constantly be updating them, checking in on if anything has changed with the patient, and reminding them that they can call back if something was to change with the patient, and we can change that priority color and send them as well. But we do plan on giving as much information that lower acuity calls could possibly wait longer at times, but we are going to put public information out for that.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor Segan?
Through you, Mayor Malash, to the chief there. Unfortunately, I had your service for myself personally one time. I want to thank you for the great service that you do provide for our community. It's one of the most important services that we have. I had took an antibiotic that was problematic that I didn't know. And after 3 rounds of epinephrine, I came around, and it was because of your prompt reaction. So I personally understand and experience what it's like to ride in your limousine. But thank you once again on behalf of council.
Through you, Mayor.
Councillor
Thank
Burton?
you. Appreciate the kind words.
Yes, through Mayor Malash to Chief. The new system, what's your average response time in LaSalle? I think it's fine to have a system, but what is your average? I call 911. My wife's had a heart attack. When can I expect an ambulance? And then the other part of that question is, I happen to go to the hospital and see 10 ambulances there, the triage. It's fine that you got to my house, you put me in them, or my wife, whoever it is. Now you get down to the emergency center, and for me at 10 o'clock in the morning to see 11 of you, 10 or 11 of your ambulances there sitting, I have concerns about that. So those would be my two questions. Is that triage been better? And with this response, how much quicker does it make you get to where I live at 1470 Gulfview? And any other resident, I think that's, technology is good. But again, what is the benefit to us and to the county and the city of Windsor in response times? How has it shortened it? I understand the priority part, but how does that really shorten the process that you have or improve that process? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Malash. Yeah, so response times, we share the same concern. Response times are a metric that we watch closely. If you've followed any of our council reports, it's no secret. Sudden cardiac arrest, CTES 1 and 2, we're not hitting our response times, and that's why the county's investing in infrastructure and resource enhancements, and we're doing everything we can operationally to find system efficiencies. What's the response time in LaSalle right now? I don't have that number in front of me. I can get back to you on that. You know, right now we're running on CTES 1 through 5 and sudden cardiac arrest. So sudden cardiac arrest is obviously somebody whose heart stopped beating. CTES 1 and 2 are significant calls, life-threatening. 3, 4, and 5 are your low acuities. We're hitting the low acuities, but we're not hitting the top 3, which is important to us. What we're seeing from the experience of some of our colleagues across the province is that response times are improving because resources are being conserved for the calls where seconds count. So digging a little bit deeper, reducing the amount of times you're going out lights and sirens, leaving resources available for those crucial moments, they're seeing an improvement there. So we're anticipating that we're going to see the same effect down here. We do report our response times twice a year. That's once in March and once in October. Laser focused on that, so we share that concern. In terms of offload delays, that's something we've been working out for a long time. I'm happy to report we've been working very closely with Windsor Regional Hospital and Erie Shores Healthcare for many years now. We are seeing improvements. There's been a lot of focus on offload delays and innovative strategies such as the Fit to Sit program, where when individuals call 911 that are low acuity or meet a certain criteria, we get them to the hospital and they're transferred immediately out to the waiting room to create capacity for ambulances that need to offload. We still do experience offload delays. We are not out of the woods. It still is something that happens. But I will tell you, this year especially, we've seen a drop in our offload delays, and we connect with the hospitals twice a day, 5 days a week to make sure that 7 days a week, twice a day to make sure we're doing everything we can to continue to offload. So essentially, when you're balancing out the load with MPDS and you're holding more calls in the community, the low acuity, and keeping them for the resources for the high acuity, you're going to be getting into less positions where you have this influx of units coming in. So right now we get these surges in volume. You put 5-6 units at one time at any hospital, it's going to take time to process. You got to get them in. We got to triage. We got to get them moved over. All of that. So by smoothing out the load, which is what this is doing, we should see some efficiencies there again based on what we're seeing across the province.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? I just have a couple, easy ones, I promise. As you stated, we've invested quite a bit the last few years at the county in EMS, and you and your team have done a really good job working on those numbers and trying to get them to an acceptable level. Obviously, everyone always is concerned when they see code red and code black, or as you're going to call it, code, I think 0 was black now. Do we think that this will improve those numbers by having more on the road? Should we see less of the code reds and code blacks with this new system?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, what we're seeing across the province is it does reduce periods of ambulance inavailability. I'm not going to say we're not going to see them. There's multiple factors that contribute to periods of limited resource availability, but based on what we're seeing across the province, yes.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Very good. And my final question, I know you often get frequent flyers who don't necessarily need EMS at that moment in time. As they get used to the new system and they refuse to answer questions, what would be your protocol in handling something like that? If someone calls in and they were refusing to answer those questions, how would we handle that?
Through you, Mayor. Again, that would be a Ministry of Health protocol through the Communication Center. What I can tell you is that we regularly mine the data for individuals that are using our services frequently, and we get referrals from the frontline paramedics for individuals that use the services frequently or somebody that may need an extra set of hands and 911 response is not it. That's pretty much what our community paramedicine program is based upon, as well as our alternate model of care, the community assessment triage team, and getting out and doing low acuity calls. Trevor.
Through you, Mayor, just to add to that as well, this new system, or I should say our current system now, the less you know, they err on the side of caution. So if you choose not to answer questions or you just make it seem like it's an emergency, we're very quick to over prioritize on that side of caution, where the less you know, the faster we go. And in this new system, it's almost the opposite, where if you're refusing to give the information and use a lot of unknowns, then it actually will more likely lower prioritize that call. It'll drop you to a lower priority. Not to be confused with someone who's maybe language barrier or hysterical on the phone, where it's you can't get the information. It's more of that, I don't know and I'm refusing to give you information, would probably lower that priority, other than the current way where we would raise that priority. So it should put those into lower priority calls, which could, depending on our volume, fall into those holds for a certain amount of time.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate you coming out and sharing the information with us, and good luck with the launch of the new system. Okay, staff reports and correspondence for council's action. Our first one is the Restricted Acts Lame Duck Council and Delegation of Authority provisions, and it's our Director of Council Services, Ms. Stralbo.
Thank you, Mayor Malash. So the report before council this evening is a proactive measure to ensure that business continuity during the 2026 election period. There is a provision within the Municipal Act that restricts, it's called the Restricted Acts provision, also known as the lame duck provision, which restricts council from taking certain action if the provision is triggered. So as you know, there are certain situations in which council is restricted from taking certain actions, and that is when it becomes apparent that 75% of the members of the current council will not be returning for the new term of council. And that happens in two situations. The first time is after nomination day, and the second time is after voting day. So if after either of those events, election events, it becomes apparent that 75% of council is not going to be returning, there are certain activities that council can't take. And those are appointing and removing officers of the municipality, hiring and dismissing employees, disposing of municipal property in excess of $50,000 unless it's been previously budgeted for, or incurring a liability, approving expenditures in excess of $50,000, again, unless it's been budgeted for. Similarly, if council enters a lame duck situation, the strong mayor powers are also restricted. So in that situation, the mayor is prohibited from appointing or removing the CAO, from any organizational restructuring, and from exercising certain property disposition and expenditure-related bylaw powers which exceed $50,000. So I'm before you this evening asking council to adopt a temporary delegation of authority bylaw to avoid any disruptions to municipal property, to municipal operations should council enter a lame duck situation. Those are my submissions, subject to any questions council may have.
Any questions or comments? If there's none, the recommendations that the report of the Director of Council Services, clerk dated June 18th, 2026, CS-2026-10, regarding the Restricted Acts Lame Duck Council and Delegation of Authority provisions be received, and that bylaw 2026-047 being a bylaw to temporarily provide the Chief Administrative Officer of the Town of LaSalle with certain authority to allow for business continuity in the event of council being restricted in its authority pursuant to Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001 be adopted at the bylaw stage of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Richo Spagnolo, support by Councillor Reno. All in favor? And that carries. Item 2 was a request for a noise bylaw exemption or nighttime work on Sandwich West Parkway roundabout, and we have our Supervisor of Engineering, Mr. Bartlett.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Tonight I'm here to discuss a request for a noise bylaw exemption at the Sandwich West Parkway and Heritage roundabout. The reason for this request is we would like to do some nighttime work for 3 consecutive nights, likely happening in the month of August is our intention. What we're planning to do is we are looking at resolving some minor surface deficiencies that came out of the concrete work that happened at the roundabout. So these issues are not structural in damage. It's just minor issues with the saw cuts themselves. They have some little bits of chipping that's happening, and we want to be proactive. Make sure that we withhold this roundabout for as long as we can. So this will prevent further deterioration and preserve the long-term performance of the roundabout. What our proposal is, it's very simple, low-cost way to prevent these bigger repairs in the future. The intent is basically to grind out the saw cuts that are there now and create a channel that can be filled with a concrete repair material, almost as an epoxy, or it's actually more like a concrete itself, but basically that will go into the cracks and then it will preserve the life of the concrete for longer. This has actually been kind of provided by the contractor themselves, who have noticed this issue as well. So they are looking to, make sure that they're withstanding a good product and providing us a good product at the end of the day. The reason we're looking for the noise bylaw exemption is because of the roundabout, it's much easier to do this work at night, so we can close down the roundabout completely. Then we don't have to, we can minimize the traffic impacts to it. We can improve the safety of the workers, and it allows for the curing time of this concrete, quick setting concrete that we're going to use. As for the actual noise, which I'm sure is the biggest question, there's no major concrete trucks and there's no major material that has to be removed. So there's no equipment on site other than just some minor hand tools. So it's mainly just grinders and a lot of handwork. So they're just laying it in with trowels and things like that. Again, the plan is to have this done before the school comes back in September. We'd like to also align the line painting at the roundabout to be recompleted at the same time, since they're going to be working there at night anyways. So then right now, if you've driven out there, you've probably noticed that a lot of the line painting that was put on last year has already worn right off. So what we like to do is we'd like to put a black line down first and then put a white line back on top of it, so it provides a little bit extra visual effects, and then also hopefully sticks for longer. That's everything, and I'm available for any questions should you may have any. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Richo Spagnola.
Thank you, through you. So once you have a date confirmed on the three nights that you'll need, I'm assuming communication will be out or letters will be sent to the neighborhood that is associated to that, as well as communication on social media, everything as well, correct?
Through you, Mayor Meloche, absolutely, yes. We'll provide communications on social media as well as letters to the neighboring residents and to emergency services.
Councillor Segan.
Through Mayor Meloche, some of the residents have contacted me about that roundabout, and they have issues, particularly in their eyes, a hazardous issue about the painting line. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually, and including there is a yellow paint all the way around the circle, because that's where cars are going over the hump of that circle because they don't see the lines anymore. One resident told me he almost had a head-on collision because of that. So I'm glad to hear that painting is going to be one of the priorities here. So I've relayed information to the resident that there was a report coming this evening that engineering is aware of what the issues are in public works. So I will be glad to inform them that this has been addressed and that you'll be taking care of that. So thank you for providing more safety in that area.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you for that. And again, if you have any more concerns from residents, please pass them along to us, because we know there's lots of deficiencies out there. We're working through some of the other ones with regards to topsoil and things like that. So, if something a resident thinks they have that we haven't noticed, we're happy to make sure that it's on the list already. Thanks.
Any other questions, Councillor Carrick?
Just one question to follow up. What's considered nighttime work in the hours that compiles?
So we're not exactly sure the hours, but we expect a normal shift, so probably around 8 hours. I don't know when exactly they would start, sometime in the late evening. So, you know, maybe 7 or 8 p.m. and work till just after midnight. We don't know for sure. But again, we're anticipating that a lot of the work that like the actual noisy part of the grinders would be a shorter period, and then there'd be, you know, the filling of the concrete afterwards as well. So
Okay, thank you. I'm just more concerned about the time it's actually closed, so that's okay too. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? You asked us my question, so that one's good. Line painting, interestingly enough, is something I had heard about a month or so ago. More so not with it fading, but they felt they were confusing. So coming from the parkway through the roundabout, the way that the lines were, it caused multiple issues where people almost got in accidents. Is that something we're looking at changing as well? Because it's not really clear.
yes, there are actually a couple symbols that were painted incorrectly that have to be properly reapplied. Some of the arrows are showing the wrong direction, and they need to be corrected.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I drove it and I thought, I know I'm seeing this too, but I appreciate you telling me that. The other question I have is actually not the roundabout, but a little bit further down the road at McDonald's. And I did notice the barrels up the other day, and I've had several complaints from residents regarding people trying to take that left out of the intersection around the island. Are we looking to extend that, or is that part of this, or no?
So the reason that we are seeing that influx of people turning left incorrectly or people making U-turns on Sandwich West Parkway to get into that right in, right out, the main reason is because currently the contractor that's working on the internal shops at Heritage has one of the intersections in the center of the plaza shut down because they're doing a raised crosswalk. So it makes it very difficult for people in the McDonald's or the Food Basics, any of those, to try and get to they can't get to the DeRoche light currently. So that's why we're seeing that now. That's why they put those barrels up, because they've noticed issues with people disobeying traffic laws. What we're planning to do in the short term, obviously once the intersection reopens, we expect that to go back down and reduce the number. We're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens. The plan is also that in the future, when phase 2 of the Heritage development goes forward, there'll be a roundabout at Demore and Sandwich West Parkway. We expect this should help with some of the traffic concerns we've seen, and we'll be able to look at whether we can actually extend that median at that time or not.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Like, I did know that entrance was closed. I saw that the other day, but I had a couple complaints probably a little over a month ago. So they were still going on. Unfortunately, I think people don't realize they can go to light and they come out that entrance and they're like, well, I don't want to turn around. I'm just going to take a left. So I appreciate that. And hopefully we can keep an eye on it and make sure that doesn't continue to happen. If there's no other questions or comments, the recommendation is that the report of the Manager of Engineering dated June 29th, 2026, PW-2026-27 regarding a request for a noise bylaw exemption for nighttime work on the Sandwich Roundabout be received, and that council approves a noise bylaw exemption for road repairs on the Sandwich West Parkway Roundabout for overnight work to take place for 3 consecutive nights within the 2026 construction season. Moved by Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Richo Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Next up, we have our crossing guard tender, and we have our police chief, Mr. Chief Pierce, presenting the report. And we also have a few delegates here as well. Start with the delegates first, is that okay? So I'm going to start with the delegates first, if that's okay. So I do have Kathy, I'm sorry if I say this wrong, Schauer? Is that right? If you want to come forward first? Just wanted the submission? Okay, we did receive the submission, just so you're aware, council did receive it ahead of time. Maria Ferraro?
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. 2026 July 29th, 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 Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the current crossing guards. We are concerned that the proposed changes, including no longer being employees of the town of LaSalle, may make it difficult for some of us to continue in this role. We are proud to serve our community as Town of LaSalle employees, and we believe these changes could make it more difficult for the town to retain experienced crossing guards and recruit new ones in the future. Crossing guards are committed to being at our assigned corners every day, 5 days a week, in all kinds of weather, for both morning and afternoon shifts. Many of us have been doing this job for years because we truly love it. We know the children by name and have built relationships with their families. That consistency is important for both safety and our community. At my corner at Ellis and Delmar, near the Kiss and Ride exit, the afternoon can be extremely busy. There have been times when vehicles have come very close to me while I was helping children and their families cross safely. Moments like this remind me how important this job really is. Over the years, we have enjoyed a positive working relationship with the LaSalle Police Service, and we appreciate the support and respect they have shown us as we work together to help keep children safe. We respectfully ask Council to reconsider the proposed changes and carefully consider the impact they may have on the future success of the Crossing Guard program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we also should have received a written submission from Martha Martin, so hopefully everyone has had a chance to review that. And we have Chief Pierce then to present the report.
Thank you, Mayor Malash. My report's intended to address the administration of the Crossing Guard program, not the intrinsic value of the program or the value of the crossing guards. The exploration of a service provider to administer the program was not undertaken as a cost-saving measure. The purpose was to determine if there was a more efficient way to administer the program. When I arrived in LaSalle 2 years ago, I learned that the LaSalle Police Service administered the Crossing Guard program, and I found this curious because I wasn't aware that any other police service in Ontario did this. Conducting some research, I found that most municipalities administer their own programs or they outsource. Those jurisdictions that once had police services administering their Crossing Guard programs migrated away from that model. It's my understanding that the town currently doesn't have capacity to administer the program, so an RFP was undertaken to determine if there was another viable option. Through the RFP process, ProStaff Employment Solutions has been identified as that viable option. They have committed to retaining our current crossing guards at the same rate of pay. This is important because if it wasn't the case, I would not bring this to council for consideration. Currently, the LaSalle Police Service administers the majority of the program with the assistance of payroll and human resources. Outsourcing the administration of the program will provide more efficient, will be more efficient and recapture resources that can be directed for us to policing functions. A staffing company's core business involves recruiting, screening, onboarding, scheduling, payroll, and maintaining staffing levels. In contrast, our community resource officers' responsibility is crime prevention, public education, and media relations. Administering the Crossing Guard program diverts policing resources from the officers' core responsibilities. By outsourcing, the municipality benefits from specialized workforce management. ProStaff will assume full responsibility of the program. From a financial perspective,
Sorry, I'm going to put you on pause for one quick second.
Sure.
Deputy.
Your Worship, I have responsibilities to the Windsor Police Service Board through employment, and we strayed into discussing police resources. I have to declare a conflict of interest and leave the room.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Chief. Go ahead.
From a financial perspective, if the Crossing Guard program remains with the town, the budget next year will be approximately $165,000 based on 2 hours per intersection per day, which is the historical practice. My understanding is the RFP requested quotes for 1.5 hours per day based on the actual need of the intersections, Pro staff's quote is $136,000 based on that 1.5 hours per day. Should council wish to continue the historical practice of 2 hours per intersection per day, the cost would increase by 25%, which would be around $170,000. So to maintain the same services we have today, the cost is about $5,000 more per year, which based on a two hour per intersection per day, but recaptures capacity across the payroll department, the LaSalle Police Service, and HR. So the recommendation before council is to approve a 5-year crossing guard contract to Pro Staff Employment Solutions. And I will again reiterate, this is not a commentary on the value of our crossing guards because they're highly respected and they are valued. It's about the administration of the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation. Members of council, any questions or comments regarding, yep, Councilor Rena.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Chief, when the RFP went out for 1.5 hours, where did that number come from? I mean, we have them doing a job for 2 hours now, and we arbitrarily asked for 1.5. How did that come about?
Through you, Mayor Malash, I wasn't involved in the creation of the RFP, but I was advised that the 1.5 hours is based on the need at the intersection. So 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes in the afternoon.
Could you comment if that was our observation or if that is a normal standard across the region? I'm just curious where this reduction has come from.
It's based on our observation. I know Windsor, their intersections are 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. I make no, I guess, suggestion on what council will elect to do as far as 1.5 hours versus 2 hours. I'm merely providing the financial information for both.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But it does come down to a 25% reduction, which for me, I'm a few years from retirement at my day job. And if I had made a plan to become a crossing guard and I knew that it paid 2 hours a day and I planned that into my retirement plan and that told me that if I secured that job, I'd be able to retire on a certain day and be comfortable for the rest of my life. A 25% reduction would be substantial to someone moving into that position. And although we have a mix of people in the audience today and a mix of people that have approached me, I think that is something that we need to take into consideration. Now, that being said, $5,000 to keep them at their pay and yet move them to another company is the equivalent of about 32 cents a house. It really isn't part of the conversation. And I'm sure we can all agree, anyone who's had children, and I've had two, crossing guards are very important and they are very valued. But I can also appreciate that a tenured officer who is trained to do policing work and we pay him to do policing work, it's very important that he's doing the type of job that he's best suited for as well. I saw a suggestion in one of the delegations how other municipalities use other departments that, although they are important to our day-to-day business, are not as specified and specific as a police officer might be. Possibly Public Works or even other departments that may be able to look this over. But I don't see that in the proposal tonight. And without seeing that in the proposal, without seeing some kind of stats on what each corner is doing and how busy they are, or how often they're staying a little bit later, are they getting paid or are they not getting paid? I need to see a little bit more information before I'd be ready to make a decision on the entire thing. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Segan.
Through your Mayor Malash, Chief, I was really pleased that you made the comment, perhaps maybe there are other ways to do this in-house, in council. As a retired principal, vice principal, and superintendent of the school board, I have an affinity towards the crossing guards and the work that they do. They do immeasurable work on behalf of the young people. They're very intuitive. When they're in their observation skills, they can see when young people are suffering or at risk, and they report it to the principal. And I've been the recipient of many of those conversations. I think it's a disservice if we remove the element of the job that they do from that this is purely an administrative move. Although I appreciate what you're trying to do, because we should be looking at all of the operations and programs that we have on a regular basis in order to satisfy the needs of the electorate here, because they pay the taxes that do this. So I'm with Councillor Reno. I'd like to see if we've had some other options to do this kind of work, because these are good people who have given a lot of their time, a lot of their commitment. They're well respected by their peers, by the parents who entrust their children to their care. And I think that we need to have another look at this.
Thank you. Councillor Richo Spagnuolo.
Thank you, through you. So first off, I'd like to just address the crossing guards and just to say thank you to all of you for your dedication to the community and to the kids that you assist on a daily basis. You're definitely a vital part to our community and you are appreciated. So just want that to be stated. And I know everyone here feels the same, so I'm just saying that out loud. Thank you, Chief, for your thoughts. I do agree that our police liaison should be directing their services to more vital services within the police department. But I do like your thought on having somebody at the town or somebody that can be dedicated to take the lead on this and to administer this vital program in our community. I'm not in favor of reducing hours. I think their 2 hours is well deserved and well earned, and I do agree. Yes, there could be a cost savings. However, I do believe that it's something that they deserve because they are out there, and it is part of their day structure that they have to dedicate an hour in the morning or an hour in the afternoon. And so I am looking at maybe if I'll let the other council colleagues speak, but if we defer this to budget or something that so we can gather some more information on pro staff and other elements that can go along with this. Thank you.
Councillor Carrick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm not going to belabor everything else that's been said, so we certainly agree with it. I guess 2 points. Going from 2 hours to an hour and a half, I understand trying to save some money, but it's hard enough to get people, quality people like yourselves, to do that job for $2 or 2 hours, let alone reducing it to half an hour. So I understand the opportunity to move the burden from the police to somewhere else. I certainly appreciate that. I guess my next question would be, the money that the police have now, does that get transferred back to the municipality if we do look at different options? That's the question I have for that. And also, I look forward to also maybe looking at other options. Thank you.
So it's administered through the police, but the budget is through the town of LaSalle. It's currently in the town budget.
Right, but it's part of the police budget. So, that was it? Okay, perfect then.
Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Your Worship. As a senior politician, my children love their crossing guards. And in fact, they went back and even spoke with some people that are a little younger than me, and they still remember Mr. Moore on Front Road, which my children had back in them days, and they speak very fondly of them. You do a great job for us. But again, with the information we have, I'm not comfortable with making this decision. So I would like to make a motion that we refer this back to administration to see if we have people to manage that in-house within our departments, and come back with a report that will say yay or nay. And again, I concur with it, what everybody else said. Hour and a half or 2 hours is pretty hard to get someone to come to work for you for 2 hours. And a split shift that they're doing, you know, every one of us see you out there, no matter when we go, and we appreciate you all, and you're almost like the male people. Winter, spring, or fall, or fog, or snow, you guys are there. So my motion was simply, I hope somebody would second the motion to refer it back to administration to see if we have any resources in-house to manage this program.
Thank you, and I have a seconder with Councillor Segan. Any other questions or comments? There being none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Moving on to item 4, which is our security services at the LaSalle Civic Center RFP award. We have our supervisor of facilities, Mr. Sichaler.
Thank you, Mayor. I may just wait a minute if that's okay. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, members of council. So earlier this year, the town issued an RFP for security services at this facility as our existing contract is expiring next month. Through that RFP process, Canadian Corps of Commissionaires was ranked as the highest scoring bidder through the request for proposal process, and their bid fits within our current budget. So at this meeting tonight and with this report, we're seeking that approval from council to enter into a 3-year contract with Commissionaires for $129,823.20, or approximately $43,274 a year, as well as authority to extend that agreement to years 4 through 7. And should we extend that agreement, the operating budget would need to be increased by $3,000 in 2029, and then again $2,000 in 2031. So for the first 3 years of the contract, there's no increase or change to the operating budget. So I'm available for any questions regarding the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of council, Councillor Carrick?
Just clarifying that this is for the Civic Center here and nowhere else, right?
Thank you, Councilor. That's correct.
Okay, and then secondly, the hours and the service they provide to us to make sure that there's nobody basically here at night, I believe, and that's basically their job. They're on site, that kind of thing. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, with the senior center going till 10 p.m. some nights, they're here till the seniors get out safely and get in their cars and go. Same with the library. The library closes at 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and 5 on Saturday, so they're here for that as well.
And sorry, one more. Just follow up. That they've been providing the service for how long now? They've been here?
They're the current contractor. I believe they've been providing the service since the facility opened in 2013.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Rena?
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree. It's been since we opened. I remember the commissionaires always at the desk. They're always reliable. I've never had a resident tell me that they've had a negative experience, and that it's a consistent, probably the best word, a consistent service that we're receiving. I appreciate the RFP process. However, I'm a little uncomfortable with the automatic renewal after 4 years. If this was going to be an 8-year term, we should write it as an 8-year term. However, if we have any questions after 4 years, I feel that should come back to council for decision in case there's anything that has happened. I don't expect that there will be anything, and this really is no fault to writing it this way. I just feel that that council should reserve a small amount of discretion instead of the wording of automatically renewing for 4 years. Thank you.
Councillor Segan?
Through you, Mayor Malash, I personally am pleased to see that this falls within the current approved budget. So good work there. And the fact that there's transparency as far as who the people are that did the submission. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, do we have a motion, or would you like me to read the recommendation? The recommendation is that the report of the Supervisor of Facilities dated July 10th, 2026, PW-2026-28, regarding RFP results for security service at LaSalle Civic Center be received, and that a 3-year contract for security service at LaSalle Civic Center be awarded to Canadian Corps of Commissionaires for $129,823.20 exclusive of HST, and upon expiry of the initial term, that administration be authorized to extend the contract to a maximum of 4 years at an additional cost of $187,324.80 exclusive of HST, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into an agreement with the commissionaires. And that was moved by Councillor Carrick, support by Councillor Burns. All in favor? That carries. Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda has 3 items. Is there anything anyone wants to pull out and speak to directly? If not, we can receive them together. Receive. Counselor Segan, support. Counselor Reno, all in favor? Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
The only thing I would like to point out is the tax write-offs. Could we get an explanation of that? I don't know if it's a house being torn down or somebody didn't fulfill a commitment, but it does affect the bottom line, not by much, but I think I know the answer, but I'd like to have clarification, please.
Through you, your worship, the residential write-off is primarily residential properties that have been purchased by the town. They become exempt, so we write them off. Often, some of the other categories, there could be a small demolition. You know, we haven't had a reassessment in a number of years, so there really isn't that many more challenges with MPAC. So most of it is just either changing property class types, where it's added onto a sup bill and then written off here, or it's a municipally owned property that's become exempt.
Very much.
Okay, so I had a mover, and do you still want to second that, Councilor Burns? And all in favor? And that carries. Committee matters, we have just the county council highlights from July 15th, 2026. Any questions or comments? If not, we could receive those. Receive by Councilor Segan, support by Councilor Richo Spagnolo. All in favor? And that carries. Questions or statements by council members? Councilor Burns?
Your worship, I noticed and read and at least saw on TV that Mrs. Gignac is retiring from the city of Windsor. And I think it would be a incumbent upon us to recognize her civic duty in a certificate from the town of LaSalle, and that it be presented to her at a council meeting of theirs to recognize what she has done. I mean, it's, 23 years of service. She was on the school board before that, so probably served on every committee there is, both within the county and outside of the county and the school board. So I think it would be nice for us just to recognize that service and dedication that she has. She's probably one of the leaders in having women run for council. She's certainly one of the first ones that ran, along with a couple others, Mayor Kishkon and Mrs. Williams and a couple others. So she's a trailblazer, and I think it's incumbent upon us as a neighbor to thank her for her service to our community and theirs.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't need a motion. That's okay. Any other questions, statements? None? Notices of motion? No notices of motion. Closed session report out. Council moved into closed session earlier this evening in accordance with Section 239, subsection D of the Municipal Act 2001 to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations. Council received information from administration and no further action was taken. Bylaws is that the following bylaw be given a first, second, third reading and finally passed, and that's 2026-047, being a bylaw to temporarily provide the Chief Administrative Officer of the Town of LaSalle with certain authority to allow for business continuity in the event of council being restricted in its authority pursuant to Section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001. Moved by Councilor Reno, support by Deputy Mayor Capata. All in favor? And that carries. Our confirmatory bylaw 2026-050 be given a first, second, third reading and finally passed. Councilor Burns, Councilor Carrick, all in favor? And that carries. Schedule of meetings for the month of August is listed below. Thank you for joining us in person or online. Have a good night.